Welcome to Canvas of the Heart, the Art Heals Arizona podcast, exploring how art transforms lives, where healing, creativity, and resilience come to life. Welcome, everyone, to Canvas of the Heart. I am really excited about this episode because we are talking about big news that is affecting not only this channel, but the organization itself. And joining me today is Coree Neumeyer, who's the board president of our organization. Welcome, Coree.
Hello. Thanks for having me, Matt.
Glad you're here. And so our news, let's just get straight to it. It'll be in the title of the episode. What is that about? So what is the big news, Coree?
Well, the big news, which we're really excited to talk about, is that Free Arts for Abused Children of Arizona is now Art Heals Arizona, formerly Free Arts.
That's right. So this is a change that's been going on here for quite some time. And the purpose of our show is to help the listener to the podcast, plus anyone out there who is discovering us for the first time, track our history. And also, we hope, find a compelling reason to be involved or be inspired by the work that we do here. So as a point of honesty, I'm going to do my very best to only refer to us as Art Heals Arizona, but habits are formed and are hard to break. So if I slip up, forgive me for saying the old name Free Arts at some moment. And we're in this period where we're going to have that kind of grace for everyone here, but that's the direction that we're in. So as we talk about that, I'd like you to kind of take us back to the history of what we've been. We're an organization a little bit older than 30 years. So tell us about what started as Free Arts, Coree.
Yeah, so Art Heals Arizona was founded in 1993 by art therapist Margaret Beresford. She started with a budget of around, $30,000 and a small cadre of volunteers. I believe it was just 5 to start. And in that first year, they served about 60 children. Today, Art Heals Arizona, over the past 30 years, we've grown to an organization with over 300 volunteers and mentors, serving more than 7,000 children annually. We've touched over 155,000 children in that time. So we've got a kind of long and storied history. And then in 2018, Free Arts found its permanent home on Camelback Road, the Parsons Place for Art and Transformation. So we're really excited for that space, that home space that we're growing into. And then, of course, in just the past year, we've started expanding our programming to Tucson, Arizona. So this organization has grown tremendously over the past 30 years. And this name change is just kind of part of that story, that evolution that we've been celebrating over time.
And you've been an important part of this for some time in a pretty unique role. So before we go further, tell us more about you, how you got involved with Art Heals Arizona and your role with the board of directors.
Sure. So kind of going in the way back machine, I think I am in my 10th year of being involved with Art Heals Arizona. And that's going to keep happening, I'm sure, as we get to that point in time. But yeah, so I've been on the board for about 10 years. I served an initial term of 6 years, and now I'm in my, after rolling off and spending a year off, I came back and I'm in the middle of my second term. But 10 years ago, I was involved in the Valley of the Sun United Way campaign for my employer. And we wanted to feature a partner organization that benefits from the Valley of the Sun annual campaign. And so that was when Alicia Sutton Campbell, the former executive director of Art Heals Arizona, came in to speak to my company. And I just couldn't believe that I had never heard of this organization before. I was just bowled over. I'm like, what? There's an organization that works with children and brings art to them to help them like navigate the traumas that they've experienced. This combines two of the things I'm most passionate about, the arts and child well-being. And here it is in one organization. So as soon as she was done talking, I walked up and said, how do I get involved? I must be involved in some way, shape, or form. At the time, Free Arts was expanding its board, and so that seemed like a natural fit. And the rest is history from there. I've had the pleasure and honor of serving on Art Heals Arizona's board since that time.
And you have a particular role now, and you're completing a second year as board president. What's that role like?
Yeah, that's feels like a real culmination of all the time that I've spent with the organization. It's been a real fun ride being the president. I truly enjoy getting to, on a regular basis, kind of interface, not only with you, Matt, but also the rest of the staff, and just have that kind of deeper, more intimate conversation with the organization about strategy and growth and, everything that drives our mission.
Yeah, it's an important role. It is often behind the scenes until it's not. There are definitely places where there's a profile to it, but there's a lot of work that happens behind the scenes. So we are appreciative of all the board members, and particularly for you and your role and your leadership. So thank you for doing that, Coree. So moving us along, take us back to that period at a pretty crucial board meeting not that long ago, where this topic came up again, and with a much more directed and kind of serious tone about, is this the time?
Yeah. And I'll just comment really quick on the again part that you raised, because I think the discussion surrounding the name of the organization has been going on. Well, it predated me joining the board. And it's come up time and time again. But you're right. At the kind of critical meeting about 3-4 years ago now, we had done kind of a branding or a marketing survey. And what we learned from that is that, we had some issues. There wasn't a whole lot of brand recognition out there. And even worse, there was some confusion about what our organization was about, right? Are we providing free art supplies? Are we are we even a nonprofit organization? So at the time we've had a strategic plan. We're in year 8 or 9 of that now. But part of our trajectory was growth. And brand recognition is an important part of kind of expanding your footprint and growing an organization. And we realized that if there was ever a time to change the name, it was now. You didn't want to put all this effort into growing and promoting an organization outside of its original footprint, and then cause some confusion about changing the name later. Like, now was the time to do it.
And timing was essential. It was a message pretty clearly delivered. And it coincided with me because I was really new in my role, and I had already wrote down, there's some interesting facts about the name that, let me see as I check out the context about whether or not that's been noticed and if we could look at it. So to have a board member talk about this, and then some immediate consensus that this lingers as a decision point that we need to consider, really helped me say, we can put staff time behind this because it has some real advantages and addresses some concerns we have about the way we are branded and known in public, and in a way that we're shared, because that's the unique function of a board and staff of nonprofits, is that there's a shared governance structure and there's oversight between roles, but there are places where it's a we, not me alone, just deciding one day to change the signs. Mm-hmm. And so that felt really good for that to happen. Alongside some of the past coming up, there's some pretty important reasons as it relates to our participants, the rationale behind this. Can you go into why this was important in terms of what the name means and sounds like to people who enjoy our programs?
Yeah. I mean, that's really the foundational reason for it, right? It's the impact on the children that we serve. The term abused children in our name creates stigma for our program participants. It's a little outdated as well. It doesn't really capture the full spectrum of the children that we are serving, right? We serve children who have experienced trauma, and trauma comes in a bunch of different forms, not just what we would traditionally think of as abuse, right? So changing the name allows us to kind of avoid re-traumatizing these children that we're trying to benefit through our programming. There are plenty of instances where we've got documented, reactions from participants who see that name and it makes them feel bad. We don't want that. And it's kind of almost obvious, right? We've had this discussion for a while, but if I could share a quick anecdote, Matt.
Yes.
I was talking to my son about the fact that I was going to be doing this podcast with you and talking about the name change for Free Arts. And my son is a big fan of Free Arts and huge supporter over the years, right along with me. But of course, he hasn't been part of these conversations surrounding the name change. But he's a very helpful kid. So he's like, oh, well, let me give you some suggestions about what to talk about. And I'm like, okay, go ahead, shoot. Let's see what you have to say. And he's like, well, first of all, the name probably doesn't make the children feel very good. And I'm like, wow, he's not been part of this conversation. And it was the first thing that came to his mind when he is trying to be helpful, helping mom brainstorm about, reasons why we might be doing it. And it's just kind of that it's just so obvious and out there, the negative impact it can have on the children that we are trying to help.
Yeah. And it's, he's in the age where kind of the sweet spot in age where you look at our participant structure, he's hearing it the way somebody would. And you're right. There's been these anecdotes of what that means. Functionally, it's caused the staff. This is something I learned very quickly when I joined, was that we basically had two sets of collateral, some that was public facing in a space where we wanted to show the compelling purpose that we help a vulnerable population. And that might be something done at a conference or a workshop or a volunteer event where we are recruiting new people to volunteer, but it wouldn't be the same collateral used in a space where the participant might see it, because that was not a good feeling for many people. And the function of being here for 30 years also means some of the children we've served over time are now adults. And that means they have a different viewpoint potentially about their involvement here, and how best do we want to give people space to understand the context without a label. So that was a huge part of this too. And there were some tactical ones too about the word free. So could you tell us a little bit about the problems that the word free caused the organization?
Oh yeah, exactly, Matt. Yeah, from an operational perspective, the name also provided some challenges. People won't be surprised to hear that the word free triggered a lot of spam filters, which significantly impact our ability to deliver information and messaging about what the organization is doing and how people can support us, which gets stuck in those junk folders, right? That's not helpful. And that's one of our primary means of outreach, right? That's how we stay in touch with our volunteers. That's how we stay in touch with all of our amazing donors and funders. So it's a main point of our outreach. So we want to make sure that those messages are getting through to people. So yeah, I mean, you've touched on all of it, Matt. There's philosophical reasons, there's participant-centered reasons, and then there's operational reasons. All of these were pointing us in the direction of it being, it's time to make this change.
So take us back to that important process. How did we land on Art Heals Arizona specifically?
Yeah, well, naturally, we started with an internal committee, right? We had some key people really dedicated to this process, involved board members, staff, marketing, and PR specialists. And so we were fortunate to draw on their expertise, as well as the expertise that we got from Desert Financial Credit Union, because as many people will know, they went through a hugely successful rebrand. And so we also benefit from having Kathy Graham as a board member on the board. She's fantastic, and former board president as well. So she's been really helpful in leading our change management on this. And what else? Yeah, I mean, that internal committee really helped us focus on setting clear criteria, identifying operational barriers, just kind of action items and next steps, so that we could go through this process smoothly, professionally, and cleanly to launch our new identity, right? We keep saying different names, same mission. So we wanted to be very thoughtful and deliberate in how we went about it.
Yeah, and the name didn't feel too far away, as this is for the viewer. Odd for the listener, I'll describe it to you, but the viewer can see over my shoulder that this is my bookshelf, and these are things that normally are decorating my office space. But Art Heals as a phrase has been around a long time.
Right.
And in fact, I've been out in public and not told people what I do or say in the art world or the topic of art, creativity comes up. And I've heard people go, hey, there's that bumper sticker. It's green. It says art heals. Isn't that cool? Don't you believe that? And depending on the context, I'll tell them like, hey, I happen to work there, or more than that. I'm very familiar with your bumper sticker idea. But these things have been around for so long that you'll just see them. Hopefully, they're always accompanied with good and safe driving, because I know that dynamic is out there where, certain other orgs might have the most terrible drivers on the road, and we keep seeing those stickers. So if you have our bumper sticker, drive safely. Anyhow, behind my shoulder is the newest version, which we are handing out and replacing it. Art Heals Arizona is adopting that continual phrase. But Art Heals as a concept had kind of been turned about in our history over time. How did you see that phrase get used before?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm one of those people driving around with that Art Heals bumper sticker on the back of their car, and have been since I joined the board, 10 years ago. So that phrase has been used, I mean, goodness, well before even I came along in connection with our programming. And why? Well, it's because it encompasses one of our core beliefs, right? Every person to a T, staff, volunteers, participants, board members, all of these stakeholders, our donors, everybody just fundamentally, intuitively understands that art does heal, right? When we announced the name change, we did a soft announce, and we're kind of workshopping with people and getting reaction. People are like, yeah, of course. It's something that we all fundamentally know to be true. Art heals. We've seen it, we've lived it, we've experienced it. And it's it's just baked into Free Arts, now Art Heals Arizona mission, right?
Yes. And so along this process, we're coming up on 2 years where it was really discussed as we should do this. And then about, 9 months of process around what it should be, what it should look like. And then a very intentional process of managing the change, inviting people in, inviting some of the people that helped get this started. And in fact, we just had an event to celebrate this. And the founder of Free Arts in 1993 here, Margaret Beresford, came to the event. So a nice full circle happened. Yeah. But part of that dialogue around change was helping people understand that there are parts to us that are not changing. And we wanted people to know what they are, because we want them to understand what our intent is, but also know that change can be scary and hard. And walk us through some of the things that, from your viewpoint, are going to stay the same. It's not drifting or changing in any way.
Well, I'd like to be very simple about it. In many ways, nothing's changing but the name. Our mission remains the same. Our vision remains the same. Our values are the same. Our programming is still the same. We still have Free Arts Days, weekly mentor programs, professional artist series, our various camp programs. We still have stuff for our alumni and for kinship families and foster families. So all of that is still there. The staff and the leadership are not changing. The board is remaining the same. Our locations, the partners that we work with. We're always looking to grow our partner relationships, but we're not changing the ones that we've had over many, many years that are incredibly valuable to Free Arts. We've got a 30-year legacy of doing what we do, and all of that is remaining the same. We will be rolling out our programming through our amazing volunteer mentors, without whom we could not do the programs that we do. They're critical to our programming. So all of that is still there 100%. Yeah. The only thing that's changing is the name.
And so it's what we're taking with us going forward. And we've been working a pretty solid timeline on announcement. And this podcast itself is fitting into the productions that will help center that for the public. But why now? Why this time period? Why February? Why are we picking this to be the time to announce it?
Well, it seemed strategic to us, frankly. It helped us to avoid competing with year-end stuff like the holidays and, of course, our year-end fundraising. It also sets us up well for the spring and summer fundraising season. We've got the tax credit campaign happening right now and really picking up steam. So we've got all those appeals going on, and it helps us, particularly when we get a lot of eyes thinking about organizations that they want to support and whatnot. It also helps us drive the renaming messaging as part of that. So people will continue to know who we are. We're going to use that Art Heals Arizona, formerly Free Arts, right? We've made the joke about Prince, or the artist formerly known as Prince. Hopefully that's not going to have to get edited out for copyright reasons, but we'll be doing a little bit of that for a while. But yeah, it just makes sense right now because people are listening. So we've got a good audience.
Yeah, we basically functionally decided this in February of last year, and then waited and then thought how to announce it. And in the end, as this is recorded, we're post the announcement event, which was a beautiful soiree, Blooming in Hope, the Art Heals soiree, which was a great combination of probably 100-ish staff, board, volunteers, former board, donors, volunteers, artists. The whole community came out. We even made art as part of that, and launching us a bit forward, because you mentioned something vital and important to us. And this is particularly true and useful for Arizona State residents, because Art Heals Arizona is a qualified foster care charitable organization. What does that mean? That means if you owe the state of Arizona tax liability, there are several tax credit systems. This is not a deduction. It's a redirection of part of your liability from the direct pay to the state revenue system to a nonprofit of your choice. And there are a couple lanes to do that. And this year, you could do that directly to the organization for a married couple filing jointly for $1,234. So if you owe more than that, you can direct that amount to us, and it comes off that tax credit. You get it back. You would otherwise pay. It would otherwise go into the state revenue pool system. And then those filing solo, it's $618. And this amount changes every year. We're very thankful about that. It's indexed to inflation, and it's a vital way that people support our organization. So we have 2 more months to that as we're kind of recording and posting this. And you can give for last year by April 15th, pretty much every year, and start giving for the next year immediately. So that opportunity is there for those who file taxes in the state of Arizona. So Coree, as we're wrapping up, what are your hopes for what the organization and the mission take away from this process of changing its name?
Yeah, I want people to know a few things, right? This name change has been thoughtfully considered for years. I was talking to a former board member and current professional artist mentor just at the soiree you mentioned last Saturday. And this was being talked about even 20 years ago, this name change. So it's been something that's been discussed and considered over a long period of time. So it's not reactive, it's strategic and intentional. Secondly, I think this new name really just validates the narrative that our community already believes and has witnessed, right? As I said earlier, it's that art heals. And for those who have been part of this organization for over 30 years now, from volunteers, artists, staff, board members, donors, alumni, all of these folks have been multipliers in carrying out this mission. And that's not changing, right? You just get a name that better reflects the work that you've been doing all these years. So that would be perhaps the 3 key takeaways I would want to emphasize.
Yeah. So follow us, check out our LinkedIn page, our blog internally, our socials are changing to Art Heals AZ. So you can find us on Instagram, which is a pretty healthy feed, because what we're also compiling right now are things that we are processing in a creative way. And so if you had been here on Saturday, there were giant foam Art Heals letters in which participants in the event were able to write a simple wish for the future or an interpretation of what art healing means for them. And those were affixed to the letters to be part of wherever it's displayed, both in the building or at a conference or workshop. And I got a chance this morning to look at some. So as our viewers and our listeners are taking this in, it's very likely going to show up with some photos and some blogs and some of the collateral created around this event, because what people shared are so meaningful and powerful in their own way. Looking at 30 messages plus from people who did the activity, it captures what we're about, not only in a cool, it's creative and fun, but people really spoke from what art has done for them. And for many people, it really is life-giving and supportive in ways that are hard to put into words, but they did it and they put it on a Post-it note. And so be on the lookout for that kind of thing. So while we're on it, and we are going to be rebranding our website, you can now find us both at freeartsaz.org for a time period and also arthealsaz.org. You'll land in the same site. So all of that will happen here. You'll see our socials changing and our LinkedIn page, all of it with that formally. So don't feel lost. It's kind of like the old days. I'm a kid from the 80s who still remembers having a phone on the wall that you would actually hang up. If you changed your phone number, it was a nightmare. Like, how are people going to know how to call you? It doesn't matter. All the lines ring here. So if you look up Free Arts AZ for the next couple of years, it's still going to hit that page. But we are training our audience, and I think I did pretty good here. I don't know if I said it. Somebody can tell me if I said the old name on accident. But we are Art Heals Arizona now, and we're just kind of growing into it and ready to share that message going forward. And on that note, as we're closing, Coree, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your service to free arts. Your passion comes through. It means a lot that you were here to share this message. Is there any parting wish you have for our listeners and viewers today?
Yeah, my big hope is that people connect with our new name on an even greater scale. So I'm really hoping that we get to meet. I'm looking forward, I should say, to meeting those new volunteers and those new board members and the new staff and the new everybody that it draws in, just from a name that better embodies what it is that we do. I'm hoping it will bring in many more people to the Art Heals Arizona family. And so I'm really looking forward to the future and all the potential that lies ahead.
That's all wonderful words and captures so much of what we hope for. So check us out, arthealsaz.org. Thank you again, Coree, for being on the show today. Have a great day, everyone, and we'll talk to you next time. Thank you for spending time with us on Canvas of the Heart, the podcast of Art Heals Arizona. Every story shared here is proof that creativity heals and that every child deserves the space to tell their story. To learn more, support our work, or get involved, visit us at arthealsaz.org. Until next time, keep creating, keep showing up, and remember, Art Heals.